I was supposed to die that morning, but someone made a different choice. That's how the letter began, the one I found in an old wooden crate in my father's basement. The lid had 3 initials carved into it, MJS. I recognized them immediately. They belonged to Michael James Stanford, my grandfather's closest friend, and the soldier who never came home from Vietnam. Back in 1969, Michael and my grandfather served in the same unit, 3rd Battalion, the 5th of Marchines. They met at Camp Pendleton, 2 young men from quiet towns, Grandpa from Ohio, Michael from rural Texas. Michael was the son of a farmer, the grandson of a World War I veteran. They trained together, shared meals, slept under leaking tents in monsoon rain, and dreamed of opening a garage back home called Stamp and Taylor Auto. But war rarely lets anyone come back the same or at all. Asterisk, asterisk. The 19th of April, 1969, Quang Nam Province. That day, they were sent to clear a sector near Hill 55. The map said light resistance, which usually meant they see you before you see them. 8 Marines went in. Within minutes, chaos erupted. A sniper from deep in the jungle took out 2 men immediately. My grandfather said the sound of the bullet wasn't a crack, it was a whisper, like a soft kiss of death. Michael shoved him into a ditch, yelling, "John, get down. He's got eyes on you." Then came the 3rd shot. It found Michael. He went down hard, hit square in the chest, but he was still breathing when Grandpa dragged him behind a tree stump. In his hand, Michael clutched a photo of a little girl in a flower print dress, 2 pigtails tied with pink ribbons. "Tell her, I was thinking about her, till the end." He didn't last much longer. Grandpa said the rest of the squad fought like demons that day, rage replacing fear, adrenaline dulling every wound. When the firefight ended, only 4 were left standing. Michael wasn't one of them. 50 years later, my grandfather rarely spoke of Vietnam. Once, when I was 17, we watched black and white footage of the war together. He sipped from a chipped coffee mug, hands shaking slightly. Then, almost as if speaking to the room and not to me, he said, "Some voices echo from the grave, and you damn well better listen." I didn't know what he meant until I found that letter. The envelope was addressed to no one, but inside, along with Michael's final words, was a name, Eleanor Grace Stanford, asterisk his daughter, and an address in Austin, Texas. I was 39 when I read it, a historian by trade, tired of my own stillness. But this gave me a mission. He hadn't died for nothing. I packed a bag the next morning. I arrived in Austin under a gray sky that hung heavy with rain, like the world knew I was carrying something sacred in my backpack. Michael's letter was folded into my journal, and the photograph of the little girl, now yellowed and creased, sat between the pages like a fragile secret. The address led me to a modest house with pale blue shutters and an old swing on the porch. It had a softness to it, the kind of house built by hands that knew loss. I stood at the gate for a full 5 minutes, rehearsing words I hadn't yet found. She answered the door slowly, with a cautious smile. Late 40s, maybe early 50s. Shoulder-length auburn hair, streaked with silver, and eyes that carried the burden of things never said. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Are you Eleanor Grace Stanford?" "I am." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I think I have something that belongs to you." I didn't tell her everything on the porch, just that I was the grandson of John Taylor, that our grandfathers served together in Vietnam, and that I had come a long way to return something left behind. She invited me inside without hesitation. Her living room was warm, lined with old books and a piano that hadn't been played in years. On the mantel sat a black and white photo of a man in uniform, one hand resting on the shoulder of a young girl. She saw me looking at it. "That's the only picture I have of him. My father." I handed her the letter. She read it silently, her fingers trembling slightly. When she reached the final line, she pressed it to her chest and closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "He never came home. All I ever knew was that he died in Vietnam. No one told us how. My mother, she remarried, but she never let go of him. Not really. I nodded. My grandfather never forgave himself. Said he lived because of your dad. That every morning felt borrowed. She looked at me, eyes welling. And you came all this way, just to tell me? I think it's what he wanted. What they both would have wanted. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The rain tapped gently against the window panes. Then she stood, walked to a small drawer in the corner, and returned with a leather-bound journal. My mother kept this. Letters she wrote to him. Never mailed, of course. But she wrote one every year on his birthday. She opened to the first page and began to read. The words were filled with longing, memory, and love that never died. And as I listened, something in the room changed. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was full with voices, with presence, with a kind of peace neither of us had expected to find. She made coffee. We talked for hours. About her life, her mother, the years spent wondering. She showed me drawings she made as a child, some labeled, "For Daddy," in blocky crayon script. As I was leaving, she handed me a photograph, one I hadn't seen before. It was Michael and my grandfather, sitting on a jeep, both grinning like they'd just won the war themselves. They were kids, she said softly. I nodded. Kids asked to be men too soon. I drove back in silence. The letter returned, the weight a little lighter. But I knew the story wasn't over. 2 weeks later, Eleanor called. There's something you should see, she said. It's about your grandfather. Something my mother mentioned in her letters. What she found would change everything I thought I knew about Michael. And about my own family. She met me at the same house. This time with less hesitation and more resolve. Eleanor's voice on the phone had been calm. But there was something beneath it. A quiet urgency. Like a door she had waited her whole life to open. We sat at her kitchen table. She slid a worn envelope across to me. It was addressed to John Taylor, in handwriting that was unmistakably feminine. My mother never mailed this, she said. She wrote it in 1970, a year after the war, after Michael was declared Kaya. I found it tucked in the back of her journal. I opened it carefully. The paper was thin, fragile with time. John, I don't know if this will reach you. I don't even know if you're alive. But I needed you to know. Michael spoke of you like a brother. He trusted you. And I believe he told you something he never told me. Eleanor isn't just his daughter. She's yours, too. It was one night, before they deployed. You both came through, Austin, and you stayed here. I never told Michael. I didn't want to ruin the bond you two had. And maybe I lied to myself, hoping she looked more like him. But every year, as she grows, it's you I see. If you read this, please know I don't expect anything. Just that you remember her, that you know the truth, that you loved her, even if you never knew. Claire. My fingers went numb. The words blurred before my eyes. Eleanor watched me, her eyes gentle, steady. I found this 2 days ago. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what it makes us. I tried to speak but couldn't. All the memories of my grandfather came rushing back, his quiet nights, his long silences, the old photo of the little girl in the drawer he never explained. He had known. All these years, he had known. She looks like him, I said quietly. I know, she replied. We sat in silence, not awkward, but full of grief, of understanding, of time catching up to both of us. Finally, she stood and went to the cabinet. She pulled out a small wooden box and opened it. Inside were dog tags. Michael's and another set. I picked them up, my heart hammering. John Taylor, I whispered. He sent them back, she said. My mom got them 6 months after the war. No note, just the tags. She never opened the package until after the funeral. I held them in my hand, and for the first time in my life, I felt the weight of legacy, of silence passed down, of choices made and buried under decades of pretending. We didn't cry. Not then. But that night, in the hotel, I wept harder than I ever had. Not for me. Not even for Eleanor. But for the two boys on that Jeep grinning, fearless, full of dreams, and for the lives that war split in half. 2 months later, Eleanor and I returned to Camp Pendleton. We stood together before the memorial wall, her hand in mine. "They're both here," she said, "on different panels. But the same war." I nodded. "The same story." And in that moment, beneath the endless blue sky of California, I felt something lift, as if the bugle had sounded again, not for war, but for peace, for closure, for the truth, and for the round that never got fired.